Waiting on God, biblical stories of patience and delay. Friends, welcome back to Friends with Bible. The nature of waiting. In the stillness of the desert nights, beneath a sky filled with stars that God himself had named, a man once waited. His name was Abraham. At nearly 100 years old, he still clung to a promise that had not yet come. A child, a legacy, a nation born from his line. But the promise seemed to delay with each passing year, and a silence from heaven stretched longer than he thought his heart could endure. Waiting is never easy. It is not passive, nor is it weak. In fact, in the biblical sense, to wait on God is one of the strongest postures a believer can take. It requires trust, it demands surrender, it tests patience. Scripture teaches us that those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. Isaiah 40:31. But what does this truly mean? What does it look like to wait? Not in frustration, not in fear, but in faith. Abraham's story is not just about the miracle of Isaac. It's about the decades of silence that came before, the long walks through the wilderness, the times he questioned, the years Sarah wept, the nights he looked up at the stars and wondered if he had heard God correctly. But God was not late. He was working, unseen, and when the time was right, his time, not Abraham's, Isaac came, laughter came, and the silence gave way to joy. Friend, maybe you're in a season like that, a season of stillness, of questions, of waiting, and maybe you've begun to wonder if God has forgotten. But let Abraham remind you, God always remembers his promises. Joseph, dreams deferred. Joseph was only a teenager when God gave him dreams, visions of greatness, of leadership, of his brothers bowing before him. But what followed was not a path of quick success. Instead, Joseph's life took a sharp and painful detour. His own brothers betrayed him, thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, and taken to a foreign land, Egypt. From favored son to forgotten servant, Joseph's dreams seemed crushed before they ever had a chance to bloom. And yet, Joseph waited. Even when falsely accused and thrown into prison for something he didn't do, Joseph continued to honor God. Even when years passed without explanation or justice, he remained faithful. He served with excellence. He interpreted the dreams of others, all the while holding on to the dreams God had given him. It would be 13 years before Joseph would stand before Pharaoh, 13 years before he was lifted out of prison and placed in a position of power, 13 years of silence, confusion, and delay. But God had not forgotten. Until the time came to fulfill his word, the Lord tested Joseph's character. Psalm 105:19, NLT. The delay was not denial, it was development. You see, sometimes God delays the dream to prepare the dreamer. Maybe that's you right now. You know what God promised. You remember the dreams he gave you, but all you see are closed doors, unanswered prayers, and seasons of silence. Take heart. Joseph's journey proves that God is not only faithful, he is strategic. Every delay is purposeful. Every detour is divine. When the time is right, his time, he will lift you up, just like Joseph. Long before Joseph became the Prince of Egypt, he was a young boy with big dreams and a destiny shaped by divine hands. His story is not just a tale of triumph, but a blueprint of waiting, a profound testimony to how God molds character in seasons of delay. Joseph, the favored son of Jacob, lived in Canaan with his 11 brothers. From the start, Joseph's life was marked by dreams. In Genesis 37, we're told of 2 significant visions, one where his sheaf of grain stood upright while his brothers' sheaves bowed down, and another where the sun, moon, and 11 stars bowed before him. These dreams were not Joseph's imagination. They were divine glimpses of a future orchestrated by God. But dreams, as powerful as they are, rarely come to pass without trials. Let's pause here. How many of us have received a word, a promise, or a vision from God, only to face the silence of waiting? Joseph's story invites us to embrace the in-between, the middle space where God does his most transformative work. Joseph's brothers, fueled by jealousy and resentment, couldn't bear the thought of bowing to him. In a moment of rage and betrayal, they threw him into a pit and sold him into slavery. Imagine being 17, torn from your family, stripped of your freedom, and bound for a foreign land. Yet the Lord was with Joseph, but the Lord was with Joseph and showed him mercy and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. Genesis 39:21. He arrived in Egypt and was sold to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh. Joseph rose quickly, for God's hand was upon him. He managed Potiphar's household with integrity, but soon faced false accusation. Potiphar's wife, unable to seduce Joseph, turned her rejection into a lie. Joseph was thrown into prison, not for wrongdoing, but for righteousness. Let's reflect here. When you do the right thing and still suffer, it's tempting to question God's timing or fairness. Yet Joseph did not abandon faith. He didn't let bitterness cloud his spirit. He served faithfully, even behind bars. And whatever he did, the Lord made it prosper. Genesis 39:23. In prison, Joseph's gift for interpreting dreams flourished. He interpreted dreams for Pharaoh's cupbearer and baker. His interpretation came true. The cupbearer was restored. Joseph's plea was simple: remember me when it is well with you. But the cupbearer forgot. 2 more years passed. 2 years. Think about that. Joseph wasn't forgotten by God, though he may have felt forsaken by man. In those silent years, God was not idle. He was refining Joseph, teaching him leadership, humility, dependence, and perseverance. Waiting isn't wasted time, it's preparation. Wait on the Lord, be of good courage, and he shall strengthen thine heart. Wait, I say, on the Lord. Psalm 27:14. Eventually, Pharaoh had dreams no one could interpret. The cupbearer remembered Joseph. He was summoned, shaved, and brought before Pharaoh. And in that divine moment, Joseph's interpretation not only saved a nation, but exalted him to second in command over Egypt. Let's explore this further. Joseph's journey from favored son to slave to prisoner to prince was not random. Each step was divinely ordered. Had he not been betrayed, he wouldn't have been in Egypt. Had he not been imprisoned, he wouldn't have met the cupbearer. Had the cupbearer remembered sooner, Pharaoh may not have needed Joseph. Timing mattered. To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven. Ecclesiastes 3:1. Waiting is not a detour from destiny, it is the path to it. Joseph's waiting built resilience. He learned to serve, to manage, to interpret, and to trust God when nothing made sense. In our lives, we may also find ourselves in pits of betrayal or prisons of delay. Like Joseph, we may have dreams deferred, but never denied. The same God who was with Joseph in the pit, Potiphar's house and prison, is with us in our waiting. He has not forgotten. He is preparing. Even when we cannot see the outcome, God is aligning the details. Every delay is a divine appointment. Every trial is a teacher, and every tear we shed waters the seeds of our future. Let's go even deeper. What would Joseph's story be without the pain? What would it mean to ascend without having been broken? God uses the broken to feed nations, to counsel kings, to save lives. But as for you, ye thought evil against me, but God meant it unto good, to bring to pass as it is this day, to save much people alive. Genesis 50:20. The same God who raised Joseph is at work in your story. Do not despise the waiting. It is sacred ground. When God seems silent, but is always working. We've seen Abraham waiting for a promised child, Joseph waiting for a dream to come alive, and now we pause and ask, what does it really mean to wait on God. To wait is not to be passive, it is to trust with expectation. To wait is not to be idle, it is to serve faithfully, pray fervently, and believe deeply. Isaiah 40:31 reminds us, "But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint." Waiting is a furnace of faith. It strips away pride. It teaches surrender. It aligns our timing with heaven's. And sometimes the delay is not about the promise at all, but about the person, you. God may be preparing your heart, refining your character, shaping your faith, so that when the promise comes, you are ready to carry it. Think about David. He was anointed as king when he was just a boy, but he returned to the pasture. Years passed before he ever sat on the throne, and in that time God trained him, not in palaces but in caves, not with crowds but in isolation. Or consider Jesus. Even he waited 30 years before his ministry began. So if you're waiting, don't despair. God is not late. He is thorough. You are not forgotten. You are being formed. The Lord is good to those who wait for him, to the soul who seeks him. So breathe, dear listener. Keep praying, keep trusting, keep walking by faith. Your delay is not the end, it is the sacred middle, and in that middle God is closer than you think, silently weaving purpose into every moment, quietly aligning everything for your good and his glory. He hasn't forgotten you. He's preparing something greater than you imagined. Wait well, wait with hope, because the one you're waiting for is worth it.